It's funny. Some of these stories I'm interested in that, I want to follow on, like the Kennedy Center honors, but I never thought I'd actually bring it to the podcast. And then I started to watch the Kennedy Center honors. I'm like, wow, beyond just Kiss getting honored, and I'm a big Kiss fan, so I wanted to see how that went, how Trump would honor Ace Frehley and all that other good stuff, and, posthumously. Then I looked at all the other attendees that I didn't really pay attention to before, and I noticed something. Every one of them has an amazing story of resilience. It was really actually pretty cool. Anyway, we'll get into that, as well as my favorite story of the day. There's an old expression that says your haters online are your biggest marketers. There's a news lady in Missouri. You probably saw the video already. She's a curvy girl, and she's turning her trolls, her online haters, into her online content fodder as she reads her comments to her, mean comments on the air, and she makes fun of it. It's fantastic. And there's a feel-good story that is perfect, just absolutely perfect for this season. Probably saw this too, and I hope you did. You may have even contributed to it because the donations are over $1 million. Ed Bambus is an 88-year-old retiree, down in his luck, and despite what you hear about TikTok and social media podcasters and social media influencers, and I hate that term too, what they did for this guy, this retiree down in his luck, who's a cashier now, well, not anymore, is an amazing story of a turnaround and people actually giving. So that's the good side of online stuff. Anyway, let's get to it. Speaking of online, thanks for finding the live stream and the podcast replay later. All the channels. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel as well for the replay and clips from the show, and TikTok, like we mentioned. And also don't forget about the audio podcast as well, wherever you like to find those. Let's get right to it. The Kennedy Center honors happened this weekend. I had an interest because of Kiss. It was Kiss in the Oval Office. How's that going to go? How is Trump going to react to those guys? Well, it was actually pretty awesome, but I noticed something else. Everybody that was honored, it wasn't just Kiss. It was Sly Stallone. Let's see, Michael Crawford from Broadway. Gloria Gaynor from the disco era, I Will Survive. And George Strait. And I noticed this thread with all of them. They all have amazing stories of resilience. First of all, let's get to the Kiss thing. Who, if you know Kiss at all, if you're a fan, if you're a rock fan, you know what they went through earlier in their career and survived, but this is really nice because a recent loss, Ace Frehley, founding member. I was heartbroken about this. I think I talked about this when it actually happened, but wanted to see how they kind of actually handled this. His daughter was there accepting his award. It was actually pretty cool.
And the members of the incredible rock band Kiss, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley, who now is resting in peace, and his beautiful daughter is here to accept the award. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you. That's great. Who would have guessed? That's pretty good.
I saw a thing. Now, being a Kiss fan, it's funny because Ace Frehley, you might have heard it as Ace Frehley. They called him Frehley the whole time. The guys in Kiss said it's such a shame on a number of different levels he's not here to accept his award because he would have been so happy that Trump pronounced his name correctly. It was great. And then his daughter was there to accept his award posthumously and all that good stuff. But so I was interested in that. But then I had to watch the entire, at least the medaling ceremony in the Oval Office. Those are all in tuxes. It was all interesting. And then I looked at the connection. Said Sly Stallone, who he's a big Trump fan anyway. He's a big supporter. Sly Stallone, George Strait, Gloria Gaynor, Michael Crawford, and Kiss themselves, they all have survival stories. In fact, Gloria Gaynor, remember her big hit in the disco era? Not like I'm a disco fan, but it was I Will Survive. First and foremost, her story. I didn't even know this because I'm not really in that world. Apparently, leading up to the Kennedy honors when she was first nominated, she faced a massive level of online pressure to not accept it. Because, you know why, it happens to be Trump. And apparently a lot of her fans were telling her and, threatening to cancel her so that she wouldn't show up and accept her award. And she said, no, I'm going to go there and I'm going to accept it. It's an honor. It's this age-old argument. It's like, even if you didn't, of course you go and accept an honor like that. And don't ever let anybody threaten you. Any online trolls threaten to cancel you if you happen to do that. Good for her. And then George Strait was there, and I remembered his survival story. You may not know this, and I just remember this from the country radio world. He had a horrific tragedy in his life as he lost his daughter pretty early, I guess the first third of his career. Overcame a lot of that. He was going to retire at the time, overcame that, and had this amazing career. Kiss themselves, nothing until they had that big hit in the mid-'70s and they just lost Ace. And Sly Stallone, if you ever read about the Sly Stallone story, Sylvester Stallone, where everybody knows Rocky and all that other stuff, he was absolutely destitute to start his career. You think of him as the past 40 years as this megastar, 45 maybe as this megastar. Didn't start off that way, and he took the ultimate gamble. If you've never heard this about the Rocky script, wrote Rocky. Now, if you think he's a terrible actor, fine. You can have that opinion, I get it. But he wrote Rocky. That is one of the greatest screenplays of all time. It's the original, not the sequels, the original Rocky in 1975. Wrote it. Pitched it around to Hollywood studios, and they all said, we love it, we'll buy it, but we have these people in mind to play Rocky. And he said no. And this guy, he had zero money. I mean, absolutely destitute, beyond poor, and was willing to take the gamble because he knew he was the guy who had to play Rocky. Stuck to his guns, finally worked out, and now look at him now. And every one of them had that story. So I was like, you know what? The Kennedy Center Honors, they did a really good job. I never really paid attention to it in past years. I don't know what it was like. Apparently it's a big change. And remember, it was controversial when Trump took that thing over. But every one of those stories of those people, literally Gloria Gaynor too, I Will Survive, great stories. So check that out, some of the coverage of it if you didn't see it yet. All right, just a little bit of the swampy news. What's the latest on the Minnesota Somali fraud connection? Well, what do we always talk about? When they hit the media trail to deflect and, diffuse and explain their way out of things, it's even more trouble. So apparently, as of Friday, the fraud they discovered was in the billions. Now it's the multiple billions. Here's Ilhan Omar, representative of Minnesota, trying to explain her way out of it. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on it.
Of the 87 people charged, all but 8 are of Somali descent. And that has added to the spotlight being put specifically on your community. Why do you think this fraud was allowed to get so widespread?
Well, I want to say, this also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so
we're the victims here. Hold on. So you know how to read through. We all know how to read through that now. I mean, I think everybody knows it, and that's the great thing. You want to look at a positive in this. As infuriating as a story as that is, you're talking about billions of dollars in fraud, billions in Medicaid fraud in that state. It's infuriating. Obviously, it's pretty scary. You can look at it that way. You can see a lot of liars who knew exactly what was going on in this. You have to look at this as a positive takeaway and that this got exposed, and to the point where, look at how different this is. Would CBS's Sunday morning show be talking about this if this was 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Look at the line of questioning. She wanted answers. Wasn't getting them, but wanted answers. That's the good news in all this, is this kind of fraud gets exposed. Seems like it's, look at the headlines and you're like, oh, is everything fraudulent? All these states? What else is going on? Well, yeah, there's a lot of it. Again, what's the takeaway? It's getting caught now and exposed. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. That's good news, too. All right, let's get to my favorite story of the day. A Missouri news anchor, Springfield, Missouri, is trolling her trolls. Somebody told me once when we first started getting, I was back in corporate radio broadcasting regionally, and when really the big push, because when you're in radio, you're looking for every possible angle you can to get out there. So we looked at we looked at social media and online presence and the internet and the sites and the blogs and everything and said, this is our big chance to get out there. This is where we can, go beyond just spoken word and use video and all this stuff. Well, quickly and this is what, like 2001. Quickly you realize what else is out there in the internet. And we all hear the stories about how bad it is and the trolls and, Twitter used to be an absolute cesspool. X is still pretty bad. But let me tell you, somebody realized pretty quickly. Somebody told me once, he said, your online haters are your best marketers because they increase your reach and they get you into the algorithm. So if you have a thick skin and you can know how to actually use them, it's to your benefit. And you know what, online, it's mostly the age-old image of some fat dude in his mom's basement, just, a keyboard warrior typing out insults, right? They would never actually say this to your face. They don't have the guts to do that. But they're hiding behind a screen, and there's so much of that these days. Well, this lady, I want to get her name right. just did an absolute job turning this around and turning her haters, or at least her trolls who are trying to insult her, because she's a curvy girl. She turned this into her online fodder. Her name is Carissa Codell. She's 26, morning news anchor, Springfield, Missouri. And in her news anchor voice, she actually takes the comments she gets online and she turns them around and laughs about it. This is the best story of the day.
Brick wall, more like brick house, and I'm looking to move in. After the commercial, we're going to explain how you can securely lock your house to keep Brennan out. From Harry Jones, I mean, she is overweight. That being said, she's an absolute smoke show. Built like my grandma's prescription lenses, and she's blind as a bat. Sorry, Grandma. I'm sure she's a nice lady. She looks like Barbie if Barbie actually ate a sandwich. I actually did have a sandwich today. I made it out of Hawaiian rolls too, so.
That is just awesome. That's how you do it. So she's going viral for this, obviously. So she was getting constant, and obviously has a great sense of humor about it, constant comments about her weight, because she's not one of these skinny little bippy models on there. She's actually like a real person who has a real body. Turned that around, she trolled her trolls, and she used her haters, I don't know if they're really haters, for her online content fodder. That is fantastic. That's how you do it. And remember, what's the takeaway? Your haters, whether it's online or in real life, are your best marketers because they get your name out there. I love it. There's another feel-good story, and perfect for the Christmas season. You probably saw this. I don't know if you donated to this, but boy, a lot of people did. And perfect for the Christmas season. His name is Ed Bambus. He's 88 years old. Now, there was an online benefit, and I'll give you the end, and then we'll kind of backwards engineer this and get to the original part of the story here. 88 years old retiree. And this kills me every time I see it, and you see this a lot more these days, at least in my observation. You go to a store, whether it's a big retail store or, anything with a lot of checkout lines, or maybe like a Walmart with the greeters or whatever it is. And sometimes you'll actually go to an offbeat kind of hour at a retail store or something like that, and you see like an older person doing stock work. And I mean older, like 75 plus. I see that a lot more these days, and it just absolutely kills me because you know what happened. Something happened with the retirement. They didn't get it. Something happened with the benefits, not enough. They probably have somebody sick. It's not always a case where they just want to stay busy. It's just not, and you know that. It's always bothered me. And I think it bothers a lot of people because the benefit for this particular guy, when his story was told, is everything that's great with the internet. You know, we were just talking about the online haters and the trolls with that news lady in Springfield, Missouri. This is what's good about the internet. An Australian TikToker, I know, TikTok's bad, it's all terrible, it's all bad stuff. No, it's not. This is the good stuff, and this is how great it actually can be. Social media influencer, everybody hates that term, I know, Samuel, I think his name is Weidenhofer. So he does feel-good stories on TikTok. That's his niche. He learned about Ed Bambus from a follower. This was late in November. He went to see him at his job. He's a checkout guy. Again, he's 88, and started to talk to him. This is a little bit long. Trust me, it's totally worth it. This is when he walks up to him at his own checkout line. Again, this guy's almost 90 and is on his feet all day. And then it takes off from here. A little long. Trust me, it's worth it.
Just seeing if I could have help scanning this. Thank you. What was your name?
Ed.
I'm Sam.
Okay.
I actually had someone nominate you from this store and said you're very hardworking.
Well, I try to be.
May I ask how old you are?
I'm 88.
And still working?
Yes, I have to.
Why do you have to keep working?
Retired from General Motors in 99. 2012, I went bankrupt, and they took my pension away from me.
Oh my gosh. Do you have a wife?
She passed away 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
She was sick when I lost my pension.
So you've been struggling a bit?
A little bit.
You said that you lost your pension?
Yes, sir, I did. I was in the Army back in 66.
So you're a veteran too?
Yes. The thing that hurt me the most was my wife was real sick. And they, when they took the pension, they also took the health care coverage.
Yeah.
And all but $10,000 of my life insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So I sold the house, sold the property I had, and we made it through. My wife died 7 years ago. Since then, I've been trying to reestablish myself.
And you're working here how many days a week?
I work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
And you do that because you have to, or
Yeah, I don't have enough income
what's your dream?
to live somewhat the life I was hoping for.
Like to share your story and try and, get people to help you retire.
Well, thank you.
Of course. You're amazing. I want to give you $400 here as a tip. Of course. You're amazing,
Thank you.
man. Of course.
I'm telling you, just remember, it doesn't get the attention like this thing is going viral, and good for the TikToker there from Australia who actually did this and put this together. Because what gets clicks, what gets views is all the negative stuff and the divide stuff and the conspiracy theories and all that other good stuff. Good for this guy for getting that story out there, and good for Ed for doing that. So it's a $400 tip. He gave him right away, which is pretty amazing there, and he was brought to tears by it. And you heard his whole story. He lost his pension. General Motors goes bankrupt. 99 for the first of twice. They get bailed out. People like Ed didn't. Worked there his whole life after he got out of the Army. Worked there his whole life. He didn't get bailed out, did he? No, the workers didn't, but boy, those companies did. Bailed out by the American taxpayer. But a guy like this was lost in the cracks. So here he is, almost 90, working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for this. How many more are out there like him? Ed was lucky because this TikToker found it, and Ed was smart enough to take it and agree to have his story told. So he tells the story, and I think the Australian guy on his channel actually puts together GoFundMes for certain stories that he sees because Ed was nominated, and he's in Michigan, by the way. It raised, are you ready for this? This was determined over the weekend, $1.77 million for Ed Mambus. How great is that? Next time somebody tells you that, it's only bad stuff online. It's only the bad stuff. No, there's plenty of good stuff online. This is the good use of the internet. This is the great stuff that's out there, and good for him. Don't forget about the people that are lost in the cracks, and remember them. Remember, you see them. You see them all the time. You see older people working. You see people down in the luck working. Ever see this? Ever see somebody who work at a retail job and another job and another? You see him a bunch of different places. Like, I always see that guy. You know why? He has to work 4 or 5 jobs. That's why. That's what's out there. And there's always a way to help. Always, always, always. Whether it's an online influencer, hate that term, helping somebody like this with a GoFundMe, or you just help them out directly. And it's not always money. Sometimes it's just a word of support, but that's what it's all about. It's a great story there. And again, so that's the good side of the internet. But what's the big takeaway, like the Missouri News lady? Your haters are your best marketers. Use them, whether it's online or in real life. All right, I'm out of material. You got to get on with your Monday. Make it a great one. Thanks for finding me, by the way. Don't forget about the YouTube channel because it's growing and growing. The entire replay of the entire podcast, but also clips for the show on there, all the other channels as well. And don't forget about the audio podcast as well. About to be posted in minutes, wherever you like to get them. Thanks for finding me. Appreciate you. Make it a wicked awesome Monday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.